in the hallowed halls of 704 Hauser Street, Queens, where the laws of physics and common sense often take a holiday life. For the Bunker family unfolds in a symphony of slammed doors, aggrieved sighs and pronouncements that could curdle milk. Our patriarch, Archie Bunker, a man whose worldview is as narrow as the lapels on his favorite worn-out suit, presides over his kingdom, a threadbare armchair with the unshakable conviction of a philosopher who has read exactly one book and suspects it might be wrong. His queen, the perpetually sweet and slightly befuddled, Edith navigates the choppy waters of his temperament with the grace of a dinghy in a hurricane, her high-pitched "Oh Archie" serving as the soundtrack to their domestic saga. Our story begins on a somber note, or at least a note that is supposed to be somber. Death, the great equalizer, has come for Edith's Aunt Rose. For Edith, this is a cause for respectful mourning. For Archie, it's a cause for digging at his heels so deep he risks hitting the water table. "I ain't gonna go to that funeral," he declares, the finality in his voice suggesting the matter is as settled as the dust on their furniture. He's done his time in the funeral trenches, he argues, and frankly, his respect for Aunt Rose was non-existent to begin with. He paints a grim picture of visitations, describing them as even worse than the actual burying. At least with the burying you're outside, he reasons finding solace in the potential distractions of trees there, or maybe a traffic jam or a holdup or something. The indoor alternative, a mortuary or Jane's, just gives him the creeps. Edith, ever the diplomat, tries to appeal to his sense of family duty. "The whole family will be there," she pleads. "They'll wonder where you are." Archie, a master of the convenient excuse, has a ready-made alibi for her to deliver. "Well, just tell them you couldn't take me off my kidney machine." He even tries to use their young charge Stephanie as a pawn, asking who will watch the kid if he goes. But Edith has already thought of a babysitter. Checkmate, or so she thinks. Archie deploys his ultimate weapon. Case closed, he barks a phrase that in the Bunker household carries the weight of a Supreme Court ruling. The truth, as it often does with Archie, bubbles to the surface in a geyser of long-held resentment. Aunt Rose, it seems, was not his biggest fan. He vividly recalls her loudly proclaiming at his wedding, "Edith Baines, you're marrying a very common person." This decades-old insult stings as if it were delivered yesterday. But the ultimate sin in Archie's eyes was a letter she allegedly wrote to Dear Abby, his pronunciation of Abby, complaining that her niece had married a bum. Though Edith gently points out that Ozone Park is likely home to many disappointed people, Archie is convinced. Who else could that bum be but him? And so Edith ventures forth alone, a solitary soldier of sorrow, arriving at the slumber room of the mortuary. The room is quiet, eerily so. "Where is everybody?" she asks the unctuous funeral director. "Well, you're here, and she's there," he replies, gesturing vaguely. Undeterred, Edith approaches the casket and begins a heartfelt, one-sided conversation with her dearly departed aunt. She apologizes for her long absence, explaining it was because Rose was so mad at her for marrying Archie. She defends her husband, proclaiming him a wonderful father, and husband first, of course, and laments that Rose never found such happiness herself. She even fondly reminisces about a man named Byron Rasmussen who loved Rose despite his peculiar habit of keeping goats in his living room. Her touching eulogy is interrupted by the arrival of another mourner, a man equally grief-stricken. They share a moment of quiet camaraderie, lamenting the small turnout for such a wonderful woman. "So many people loved her," the man sighs. Edith agrees, adding, "At least poor Aunt Rose ain't alone." This prompts a moment of horrifying clarity. Aunt Rose, the man asks, his face a mask of confusion. "You mean that isn't Agnes Moncrieff in there?" The penny drops with a deafening clang. Edith has been pouring her heart out to a complete stranger. She is in the wrong room. As she makes her mortified exit, the funeral director is busy removing chairs from her sparsely attended room for the overflowing Moncrieff party next door. Feeling the pangs of a guilty conscience, or perhaps just boredom, Archie decides to perform a rare act of chivalry. He borrows a cab and drives to the mortuary to pick Edith up, leaving Stephanie asleep in the back with a window crack like we used to do with Aunt and the cat. He finds Edith the sole mourner at the correct casket this time. Seeing her so alone, his gruff exterior melts just a little. He comforts her, promising that when her time comes, people will flock from all corners the island over in Jersey, Brooklyn, to pay their respects. "And I'll be there, won't I?" He has a moment of genuine tenderness that is as startling as it is sweet. The mood shifts from the somber to the stressful as the Bunkers prepare for a weekend fishing trip with their friends Barney and Blanche. The trip is immediately fraught with tension, primarily because Archie can't stand Blanche. He hasn't forgiven her for running off to Atlantic City with another man, an exterminator, no less. God forgives everybody that falls, Edith says gently. Archie's theology, however, is a bit more specific, but God expects more out of women, he declares. That's why he came to phrase fallen woman. Why do you think you never hear nothing about fallen men? His logic is as always a pretzel of prejudice. The four friends arrive at Barney's cabin, a tinderbox of resentment just waiting for a spark. And that spark comes in the form of a game of Monopoly. What begins as a friendly competition over fake real estate quickly devolves into a bitter proxy war for Barney and Blanche's real-life grievances. Blanche, playing with a flagrant disregard for both the rules and Barney's money, wants a loan. Barney, clinging to the rule book as if it were a life raft, refuses. Rules are made to be broken. Blanche snaps a line that Archie finds too delicious to ignore. He pounces, alluding to the guy that got to you, the infamous exterminator. The game board is promptly forgotten as the argument explodes. Blanche, furious, declares that Barney is not sleeping with her. This creates a logistical and deeply uncomfortable nightmare. The sleeping arrangements are shuffled. Edith will sleep with Blanche, and Archie, to his profound horror, will share a bed with Barney. Let me tell you something, Barney Archie grumbles as they lie side by side in the dark. This here is very unnatural. He tries to motivate Barney to go force yourself on your wife, but Barney is defeated. To reclaim his side of the bed, Archie resorts to psychological warfare, inventing a tale of a giant country spider with 8 hairy legs and the 7 red eyes crawling under Barney. Meanwhile, in the other room, Blanche is trying to get Edith to spill some marital secrets. Didn't you ever think of leaving Archie? She prods. She presses further, asking if Edith has ever had an affair. Edith is aghast. Why would I want another man when I got Archie? She replies a statement of loyalty that Blanche finds baffling. Blanche, ever the connoisseur of bedroom performance, proposes a rating system, the bedroom scale from 1 to 10. She rates Barney a paltry 1.5 and asks where Archie falls. Edith, with unintentional comedic genius, deadpans, I can't even get Archie on the bathroom scale. The night takes a farcical turn when Blanche, needing to use the bathroom, returns not to her own bed, but to Archie and Barney's room. In the darkness, she climbs into bed and cuddles up to the lump she assumes is Edith. Give me a little room, will ya? She mutters, only to get a gruff response. This doesn't feel like you, she says, confused. That's because you're feeling me. Archie growls back. The lights flash on, revealing the horrifying tableau Blanche in bed with the mortified Archie. The ensuing chaos is a whirlwind of accusations and recriminations. Edith and Barney rush in, and the scene descends into a 4-person shouting match. It's only when Edith, channeling her inner Aunt Frida from Freeport, dispenses some simple wisdom: you can't run away from your own head, so you might as well make friends with it, that tensions begin to ease. Barney and Blanche reconcile with a kiss, much to Archie's disgust. I think it's stupid, he mutters. Just as the exhausted couples are about to get some sleep, Archie ever, the taskmaster declares it's time to go fishing, ordering everyone to the kitchen to make breakfast. Next, Archie embarks on another all-male adventure, a lodge convention in Buffalo, which he insists on calling a caucus. He explains to Edith that these semi-animal meetings are crucial for national security, where decisions are made that could have an effect upon the entire course of our whole national defense. His arsenal for this vital mission includes a whoopee cushion and a plastic doggy doo-doo. The convention is, of course, an excuse for middle-aged men to drink heavily and act like fraternity pledges. The air is thick with bad jokes and cheap booze. A friend who passes out early is subjected to the classic Hotfoot gag. Water bombs are dropped from hotel windows onto innocent civilians below. The ringleader of the shenanigans is a man named Pinky Peterson, a practical joker of legendary repute. He decides that Archie is the perfect target for his masterpiece. He enlists a young, attractive woman named Maribel to help him pull a fast one. The plan is simple, yet diabolical. Later that night, as Archie lies in a drunken stupor, he is moved to Maribel's room. He awakens the next morning in an unfamiliar bed next to an unfamiliar woman. How did you get here? He asks, his voice a cocktail of panic and confusion. I brought you here, she coos. Archie's mind foggy from the previous night's libations races. He doesn't remember a thing. Too bad she purrs. It was beautiful. Panic sets in. I'm a happily married man, he sputters. I don't fool around. I know, she replies, slyly. You got right to it. He is trapped in a nightmare of his own making, or rather, Pinky's making. He tries to let her down easy, casting himself as an experienced man of the world who took advantage of her youth. He tells her she must forget him, spinning a tale of his deep belief in the sanctity of man. Just as his self-flagellating speech reaches its crescendo, Maribel can't keep a straight face any longer. She confesses it was all a prank, a gag orchestrated by Pinky. Archie is relieved, but his ordeal is far from over. Pinky and his cronies, listening from the next room, decide to escalate the joke to a truly terrifying level. Maribel runs out of the room screaming that Archie is dead. He woke up, took one look at me, clutched his heart, and closed his eyes, she cries. His friends rush in to find Archie, who has wisely decided to play along, lying motionless on the bed. Panic and guilt consume the pranksters. Pinky, desperate to avoid blame, concocts a morbidly absurd plan. "We're going to make it look like an accident," he whispers to Barney. Their solution: throw Archie's body out the 14th story window. "We'll tell him he was throwing a water bag out the window and forgot to let go." Pinky reasons. They even plan to throw Maribel out too, to eliminate the witness. As Barney and Pinky grab his arms and legs and begin to haul him toward the window, Archie decides he's had enough. He springs back to life, scaring them half to death. The prank is finally truly over. He returns home to Edith a changed man, or at least a man who is temporarily humbled. A bunch of grown, middle-aged men acting like children, he tells her, vowing, "I ain't ever gonna do that no more." The final chapter in our saga begins with the death of another beloved family member, the television set. It has officially pooped out. Archie's percussive maintenance, a series of well-aimed kicks, no longer works. The screen is dark, the sound is gone, and a suspicious burning smell fills the air. With their 30th anniversary approaching, Edith sees an opportunity. She will buy Archie a new color TV as a surprise, a grand gesture of her love. There's just one small hurdle: she has no money. Her solution is to get a loan from the bank, a place she enters with wide-eyed optimism. She meets with a loan officer, Mr. Faraday, a man whose smile is as synthetic as the paneling on his office walls. Edith explains her purpose, but her request for credit on her own is met with a patronizing series of questions. Does she work? Yes, part-time at the Sunshine Home, for the princely sum of $2.65 an hour. Does she own anything outright? Well, her clothes, her mother's dishes, some pots and pans, and her very own water pick. Mr. Faraday is not impressed. He informs her that since she doesn't work full-time and has no visible assets, a loan is impossible. "But I do work full-time," Edith insists, her voice rising with a newfound indignation. "I do all the cooking and the cleaning and the washing and the shopping." Faraday dismisses this as just housework. This is a bridge too far for Edith. The injustice of it all crystallizes in her mind. Her work, the endless, thankless labor that makes their home function, is deemed worthless. "If I was a man, would you give me a loan?" she asks, cutting to the heart of the matter. Faraday's condescending reply is the final straw. In an act of quiet rebellion, Edith announces she is withdrawing her 3 small accounts: the education for her grandson account, the Christmas Club account, and the Magic Potato Cutter account from his discriminatory institution. "Case closed," she declares defiantly, echoing her husband's favorite phrase. Defeated, but not broken, Edith resorts to her last chance, Archie. She approaches him not as a wife, but as a friend asking for a loan. Archie is immediately suspicious. When she names her price, $500, he nearly falls out of his chair. He demands to know what it's for, invoking his right as the man of the house, the boss. But Edith, empowered by her experience at the bank, is no longer willing to be dismissed. She presents him with a carefully calculated invoice for her 30 years of service. Figuring her labor is worth at least $1 a week, she multiplies that by 52 weeks and then by 30 years. The grand total, she announces, is $1,560, which he owes her. She then makes him a business proposition. If he gives her the $500, now she'll let him keep the $1,060 that's left. Archie's brain short circuits. He cannot comprehend this logic. "What are you trying to tell me here?" he sputters. "That I got to pay you for doing the work that God gave you to do." He accuses her of spouting communist talk, but Edith stands her ground, her voice trembling with 30 years of unacknowledged effort. The argument escalates until Edith, in a rare display of fury, slams a stack of dishes on the table and storms out. A worried Stephanie, who was in on the secret, reveals to Archie that Edith wanted the money to buy him the TV. Stunned and deeply touched, Archie finds Edith in the kitchen. He offers her the $500, no questions asked, as an anniversary present. But Edith has had a taste of economic justice, and she is not backing down. "Oh, no, it ain't a present, Archie," she says firmly, "because it's my pay." She accepts the $500 as a down payment and informs him that he still owes her the remaining $1,060, which he can pay off in weekly installments of $5 a fund they can use for bills and family trips. Trapped by his own surprise gift and his wife's irrefutable, if unconventional accounting, Archie can only stare in bewildered amazement at the woman he thought he knew, a woman who had just successfully negotiated her first paycheck. After 3 decades of tireless work,